What you are about to hear sounds like satire, but it is real, and that is what makes it shocking. Politics, power, money, lawsuits, protests, and even flying hair pieces all collide in one non-stop chain of events. Stay with this story because every minute reveals something more unbelievable than the last. Jimmy says he is the host and thanks everyone watching in Hollywood. He asks the audience to settle down because there is a lot to cover. He welcomes his colleague back and points out that he was not there the previous night. The guest explains he had gone to San Jose, California. Jimmy asks if that was for the Super Bowl interviews he does every year. The guest confirms it was and says it went very well. He spoke to all the players he needed to talk to and says they were very kind and friendly. Jimmy says they missed him and tells him not to leave again. The guest replies that he will not and says he missed everyone too and loves the team. Jimmy then points out that the guest missed the whole Epstein file story. He jokes about how much of a fan the guest is of the Epstein files and says he missed everything. He explains that these Epstein files are a very big deal and a huge story. He says it is the kind of story Donald Trump would prefer to disappear, but it will not. He explains that it is a scandal type of story that naturally makes headlines. He says Trump knows this very well, so he tries to distract the public by flooding the news with many other shocking actions at the same time. There is only so much the public can focus on. To distract people now, Trump is suing almost everyone. Jimmy mentions that Trump is suing the IRS, which Trump himself runs, for $10 billion. He jokes that Trump plans to negotiate a settlement with himself. He says that if any other president did this, it would be the biggest story of their entire term. With Trump, it does not even make the top 5 stories of the month. He then says that a major newspaper published a story claiming Trump dropped his demand that Harvard University pay $200 million. Harvard is described as one of the very few institutions that is fighting back. When Trump saw the report, it triggered another angry reaction. Trump posted that Harvard is strongly anti-Semitic and accused it of feeding nonsense to the newspaper. He said Harvard has behaved badly for a long time and that they are now seeking $1 billion in damages. Jimmy points out that Trump was asking for $200 million and now wants $1 billion. He jokes that every post now sounds like a ransom note from the president. He then jokes about Harvard and says there is an easy way out. He sarcastically suggests they give Trump an imaginary degree or an award praising his intelligence so the problem will go away. He mocks the idea by saying they could invent a prize just for him. He says Harvard is supposed to be full of geniuses, so they should figure it out. He continues by saying Trump also attacked the newspaper again and is now suing it for $15 billion. Trump wrote that he looks forward to watching their circulation fall until they close. Jimmy jokes that if Trump really wants the paper to go out of business, maybe he should run it himself. He then lists the numbers again. $1 billion from Harvard, $10 billion from the IRS, $15 billion from the newspaper. He jokes that the numbers sound like a child guessing prices, jumping from $1 billion to infinity. He adds that this is on top of nearly $4 billion that Trump and his family have reportedly made since returning to office. He explains that a report says that just days before the inauguration, a member of the Abu Dhabi royal family bought a $500 million stake in a Trump family crypto business. He then says months after this investment, the Trump administration suddenly agreed to supply that same royal family with advanced American-made AI chips. He explains that the previous administration refused to sell those chips because of fears they could end up in Chinese hands. He sarcastically calls it a coincidence. He reminds viewers how Republicans were furious about Hunter Biden selling expensive artwork. He compares that to this situation and says the royal family wanted AI chips, so they bought Trump's crypto business and got the chips. He jokes that it was literally a deal made by a sheikh. He then says the president claims to know nothing about it. A reporter asked Trump about the investment. Trump said he did not know about it and said crypto is popular. He said his sons and family handle it and that they get investments from many people.
Jimmy mocks this answer and says the man who claims to know more than experts about everything suddenly knows nothing about his own family's money. He jokes that it is a condition where someone forgets scams. He says the one thing Trump never knows is how much money his family is making. He then says Trump uses the same routine when asked about the Epstein files. Trump is asked what he wants on the Epstein files and whether he read them. Trump says he has many things to do and does not know. He mentions 2 names and says he is sure they are fine. Jimmy sarcastically says there are very fine people in the Epstein files. He jokes that this might be the first time anyone called Elon Musk fine. He explains that while many powerful names remain hidden, the files release the names of victims, along with addresses and even nude photos. He says Trump is too busy working on his new ballroom and is tired of hearing about Epstein. Trump then says it is time for the country to move on because nothing came out about him. When asked what he would say to survivors, Trump attacks the reporter, calls her dishonest, and criticizes her network. He comments on her appearance and tells her she should smile. Jimmy reacts by saying this is a terrible moment to tell a woman to smile, especially when she is asking about Epstein victims.
The situation becomes even more disturbing when the president's former personal attorney, who is now in charge of matters related to the Epstein files, appeared on television. He was asked directly if there was any chance that people who partied with Epstein and had illegal relations with minors would be prosecuted. He said he would never say no and that any evidence of misconduct would be investigated. Then he added something that stunned many people. He said it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. That statement alone shocked viewers across the country. The idea that someone could say this out loud on television left many people angry and confused. The discussion continued with sarcastic remarks pointing out how dangerous that thinking is. The suggestion that photos showing questionable situations mean nothing because photos cannot speak was used to highlight how accountability seems to disappear when powerful people are involved. The mood turned darker as it became clear how much frustration exists around this issue. There is so much to be angry about that it feels overwhelming. Many Americans feel worn down by the constant scandals, denials, and distractions. Over the same weekend, millions of Americans took part in anti-ICE protests across the country. These were described as peaceful demonstrations by concerned citizens who believe crimes are being committed against their neighbors. Despite the massive turnout, the president continued to claim the protesters were paid agitators. He said they were professionals and pointed to their signs as proof. He described the signs as beautifully made, with strong materials and even leather handles. He went on and on about how impressive the signs looked, as if he were describing a luxury product instead of protest posters. This claim was mocked by people who actually attended the protests. Many said the signs were made from simple poster boards and markers. There were no expensive materials or professional production. What people did see was creativity. Some signs were funny, some were emotional, and some were blunt. One sign joked about missing a movie to attend the protest. Another made a sarcastic comment about ICE. Others directly criticized political figures. These signs reflected personal feelings, not paid messaging. The speaker then pointed out that if it were up to extremists, people would not even have the right to protest a vote. He explained that the president has floated the idea of the federal government taking control of elections away from the states. He claimed that Republicans should take over voting in several places, including states he lost multiple times. He mentioned that federal agencies have seized voter information from past elections, suggesting an attempt to influence future results. He said it also appears the president wants to erase his loss from a previous election. The frustration is clear when he says there was only one good day in the past decade, and even that is now under attack. He then shifts to how unpopular the president is internationally. He describes a long-standing European festival where a large puppet of the president was displayed in an unflattering way. The puppet showed him being controlled and mocked. The joke continues with the suggestion that the president would probably sue that parade as well for billions of dollars. This international reaction shows how widely negative opinions have spread beyond the United States. From politics, the story suddenly takes a sharp turn into sports, providing a strange but memorable moment.
A heavyweight boxing match at Madison Square Garden featured one of the most unexpected moments in sports history. During the fight, a fighter's hairpiece came off in the middle of the action. The crowd and commentators were stunned. The moment looked like something out of a cartoon. The fighter lost his hairpiece, picked it up, and threw it aside in dramatic fashion. The fighter later explained what happened. He said that he normally has a full head of hair, but he used a cosmetic enhancement spray and left it in too long. When he washed it out, much of his hair came out with it. He panicked because he did not want to appear on national television without hair. A cousin connected him with a barber who specialized in hair pieces. The barber assured him it would be secure, using extra tape and glue. At first, it looked great. During the fight, after taking heavy punches, he felt air on his head and knew something was wrong. He didn't hear the crowd, but he noticed his trainer acting strange. When he looked at the big screen, he realized his hairpiece was coming off. At that moment, he decided to own it. He threw the hairpiece away and focused on winning the fight. Somehow, despite the distraction, he managed to rally and win. After the fight, the hairpiece disappeared. Jokes were made about selling it online or displaying it in a Hall of Fame. When asked to remove his hat later, the fighter joked about how he looked and laughed at himself. The interview ended on a light note, with everyone thanking him for his honesty and humor. From lawsuits worth billions to international ridicule to protests, elections, scandals, and a flying hairpiece in a boxing ring, this chain of events shows just how chaotic and unbelievable the current moment feels. This is not fiction. This is the reality people are watching unfold every single day. And this is why stories like this continue to grab attention, spark anger, and leave many asking what could possibly happen next, right here on Global USA News.